Hey, Kyle here with the 4Pro Performance. Today taking a little break from shooting and going to show you guys how to install a TrueTrack. It is a stabilization kit for the FXD, for the Dynas. And first off, let's talk about why. The why is because on the Dynas, the rubber mounted engine pieces down right here in the front and there in the back, we'll take a look at that in a minute, they move side to side. If you look, if you go on the other side of the bike and you take a peek up in here, you can see the heim joint. It's up in there, kind of difficult to see in this light. So you got a decent top motor mount. But what Harley did with the rubber mount on the Dynas and the touring models is they isolated the vibration of the engine, so it's not that bad, you know, on the rider when you're sitting on it. The problem is the engine moves this way, but the rubber mounts that when they're stock also let it move side to side. So I'm going to put a link on here to show you guys a dude who on the internet, he took the engine out, left the primary and the tranny in there, and he just grabs the primary and shakes it, and you'll see the rear wheel will actually move side to side. So that's the problem. What I would suggest to guys is you don't need this unless you're maybe, you know, you got a racing background or you're riding really hard. You know, it's just under $400. It ships really quick. I ordered it on Monday. It got to the East Coast on Thursday from California. So real good customer service so far. How to know if you might need one? If your pegs look like that, I mean, if you're like shaving pegs down in corners, and if you're dragging exhaust, like you're dragging your exhaust or your kickstand on the other side, and that's with stock shocks that are set as hard as they'll go. If you're doing that and you're feeling that wobble high speed, like a slow bending curve, then you definitely need it. So the first thing we're going to do is on the front here, just kind of let you look at the bike there, right here on the front, right there. We're going to come down here. We're going to remove these two right here. What you're going to need for this, you're going to need a 5/32 Allen. You're going to need a 3/8 ratchet. You're going to need two 9/16 wrenches. You're going to need a 7/32 Allen socket, and that should do you. So first thing is we're going to remove these two. We're going to remove the nut off of this bolt right here. There's one right there, and then there's one just slightly behind it. You're going to remove these two nuts. 9/16 socket and just a 9/16 wrench. Alright, so now these bolts that we removed the nut of are going to get threaded into this piece of the TrueTrack. So you're just going to kind of hold it up here and thread it in, and obviously the name Dyna TrueTrack is going to go forward. So it's going to sit, got one hand here so bear with me, it's going to sit like this, but this piece right here, that's the piece that gets threaded into those two bolts. So that's what you're going to do next. Alright, so next we've got these bolts tightened into this part of the bracket. Now you're just going to swing this thing around right here, and these two holes right here are going to line up with the original holes that you took the 5/32 Allen with, and you're going to start those. If you have a jack at this point, it could be just a floor jack like this, anything simple. You just might have to lift the engine up just a little bit to get the holes to align. You don't really need a partner, just as long as you've got the adjustment here so you can work it. Alright, after we get these two bad boys tightened, the next thing we're going to do is measure 3/8 of an inch, and hopefully we get this thing to focus. 3/8 of an inch from this bracket right here to the stop bolt, and there's a jam nut on there, so you measure 3/8 right there and lock down that jam nut. Alright, next we're going to tighten this first, and then this one. Alright, the last thing on the front is we're going to send both of these jam nuts to the outside while we're holding the adjuster nut in the middle, tighten it down, and we're done. That's it, installed on the front. Now we're back here to the back of the bike, so the first thing we're going to do is take those two bolts right there. We're going to take them out and flip them around so that the threads are coming from the primary to the exhaust side. Alright, that's the bracket right there. You can see it. And the bolts are threaded through it. And now we're going to put the rest of it on, and we'll start working on the bottom part of the motor mount right back here, and that little Allen head that's up in there. Alright, so we removed the stock bottom rear mounting bolt for the engine mount, and we're going to replace it with one of the stainless ones that TrueTrack sent. Alright, so here's the bracket installed up in there where my flashlight is shining. And then after we got that bracket installed, I put the link on. And you can see over there on the other side. And now the last piece here is going to be putting the last bolt through the link over here by the belt. Alright, the final step is to, once you get the link on, send the jam nuts all the way to the outside and lock them down. That's it. TrueTrack installed. I would give yourself solid 2 hours, maybe 2.5 to get it done. And we'll let you guys know how it does.